Welcome. Here we are, episode 1 of Inside the Offer, stories, strategies, and secrets from today's real estate and mortgage market. My name is Ben Handelsman, and I'm with my co-host,
Jeremy Steibel.
Yeah, and we are two industry veterans.
Yes, we are.
I started in real estate, actually this summer will be 20 years ago. Started in 2006.
I've been in it since 1996, so basically 30 years.
Yeah,
Crazy.
You've been in it forever.
Don't age me.
Yeah.
Don't.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Yeah, don't
I wouldn't
do that.
dream of it. So we've been working together for a number of years, and we decided to put this podcast together. And why did we want to start a podcast? There are a million real estate podcasts out there. You know, what do we bring to the table that's different from everything else?
Yeah, but there's a million podcasts out there that really cater to other people in the industry.
Right.
There's really not a lot of podcasts that cater to the people out there that are actually looking at buying and selling real estate.
Right.
That's the problem. And there's so much misinformation out there that we really wanted to bring the correct information to the market, really to help our buyers and sellers out, because it is not an easy time to buy or sell a house.
Right.
So, for me, I just feel that we have so much knowledge and stories and a lot of things that we've built up and amassed over the last 20 to 30 years that we can just, endless podcasts about what we can do for our clients and what people need to know when they start entering the market.
Right. I totally agree. There's a bajillion podcasts out there relating to real estate. But, as we were doing our research and preparing for putting this podcast together, we sort of realized that there's nothing that's sort of consumer focused. There's nothing that speaks to the everyday consumer and explains this is what the market's all about. Here are things that are happening in real life and in the news or whatever, and how it relates to you and your home values and things like that. Because for most people, buying their home, that's their biggest investment. And you want to have the knowledge that you're heading in the right direction.
Yep.
And that was kind of really the goal. So, like, for example, I had a meeting with a buyer a few days ago, and he didn't know, and this was a smart, educated guy. He didn't know that you could buy a house without putting 20% down.
Really?
He thought you had to put 20% down to buy a house. And there's probably a lot of other people out there like that. I was looking up the statistics. 12% of Gen Z and baby boomers didn't know that you can negotiate with a seller. They didn't know.
No.
So I think there's a lot of, you're right, misinformation out there. And you don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
So that was sort of the goal of this podcast, is to give people clarity, to give people the correct information so they can make the best decision for them and their family moving forward.
And it also seems like there's a lot of information that is being passed down from generation to generation. And unfortunately, guess what? Yeah. It's old. It's outdated.
Right.
And, I see it and I hear about it all the time from other real estate agents or even my clients that have their parents or their grandparents or whoever else become a part of the transaction, whether they're at the inspection or whatever else. And again, they're giving misinformation because things have changed.
Yeah.
And, you don't
It's constantly changing.
It's constantly changing.
Right? In 2008, we had a major change in the market.
Yep.
This has been a year now with the laws, the buyer agency laws that changed was a major shakeup to the industry.
Yep.
We have a lot of consolidation in the industry, companies buying other companies, mortgage companies buying real estate companies. So it's just constantly changing.
Yep.
And every week there's going to be no shortage of stuff to talk about, information to talk about. And we're excited to bring that content out there to all the listeners and our friends, our family, our clients, and all that fun stuff. So I guess let's dive a little deeper. Tell me a little about you. Like, where are you from? Where'd you go to college? Tell me about your family. I mean, I know this stuff, but people listening may not.
Everybody else?
And it's good. It's just good to have a little context.
All right.
So,
everybody else out there.
Yeah. So we are sitting here in Royal Oak, Michigan.
Yes, we are.
We specialize, obviously, in Southeast Michigan market, but we're going to be talking about topics that apply to everyone all over the country. But so,
correct.
What's your background? Why are you a good person to relay?
Why am I a good person to sit here, huh? I went to Michigan State. Went there for undergrad as a business pre-law major. and I did not know what I wanted to do. Nobody really wakes up, and this is something that we always talk about. Nobody wakes up and says, hey, I want to be a mortgage person,
Right.
or I want to be a real estate agent, right?
Everyone has a story.
Everybody's got a story of how they entered the market.
Yeah.
And so, my story is, not unlike other people, because, again, I didn't go to school to become a mortgage loan officer. I went to school for, like I said, business pre-law, and when I was there, again, nothing really came to me and said, this is what I want to do. Do I want to go business? Do I want to go law school? So I decided that I was going to take a gap year. And during that gap year, somebody back in 1996 said, hey, there's this new business of mortgages. And it's not that mortgages hasn't been around, but this was like when the broker business was really starting to come about. And at that point, the broker business was more about loans that you can't get at a bank or a lending institution, and you had to go somewhere else to get it because you had bad credit or less money down or whatever it is. So I said, okay, let me go check it out. It sounds like mortgages. I know I've read about that stuff in school, and it sounds fancy. It's something that has to do with finance. So I said, great. So I went there, and I kind of fell in love because I also have previous jobs, have worked in sales. So it was something that I said I get to use my business sense as well as I get to use my sales experience. And so that was like, okay.
So it was love at first sight.
It was love at first sight.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But again, I still really had no idea what a mortgage was and what it entailed, and it took me some time to figure that out and learn. And unfortunately, a lot of people, that's just what it is.
Right.
You hear about it all over the place, but you just really don't understand what goes into it. And so, it took me some time to learn, but then I did. I did go back and got my master's degree because I really felt like
From state?
No, from Walsh College.
Okay.
So I went to Walsh College. Yeah.
Where'd you get a master's in?
Corporate finance.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, but I also did a little, again, another little side study in, personal finance. There was things where I wanted to learn the balance sheet for businesses, but also wanted to learn how to do a balance sheet for my clients and personal. And so that way, when I do talk to clients, even though I'm not a financial planner and I will never say I am because I'm not licensed, but I can talk to my clients about how to run a balance sheet, how to make sure that they're saving for a down payment or what they're doing for their investments and where they are putting their money, where is it best spent. So, but again, I do also try to say you need to speak to, if you're looking at putting money down, if you're going to put down 50%, maybe it's not 50%, maybe it's putting down 20% or 30%, and then go talk to your financial advisor and figure out where the rest of the money's better put for your particular situation and when you want to retire and how you want to live your life. So there's a lot of other things that go into it.
That'd be a good topic for a future show is, what's a right down payment for you?
Correct.
Because, and we'll get into PMI and all that stuff, but maybe putting 50% down isn't a great thing. Maybe you can just put 20% down, put that remaining 30% in the market and get better than 7.5%.
And you're still going to get appreciation on the house, and you're still paying money down, so your loan balance is going down every month. So again, there's a lot of things that we go into.
Especially when rates are really low. I said people to put down as little as possible because you're going to make more money in the market. And,
Correct. Yeah, it was free money.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into it, and then from there, I started with this one company, and then I moved to a few different companies. Again, this was a small little broker shop. Then I moved to a medium-sized direct lender, and then I went to Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, where it was now working for almost a bank, right, in their mortgage division. And so I had these ideas of how really I want to end my career and where I wanted to go. And so I took the difference of a small broker, medium-sized lender, and then obviously a national bank, and I said, I want to open up my own company. And myself and another partner opened up a company, and I was there for 24 years. And and then now I'm at another company that I'm trying to help grow their company, some of my talents. So again, it was just a transition from, small, medium, large to then starting my own, realizing what is right and wrong for me. And then now I'm really just doing everything I can to create a legacy in the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So you've seen the ups and downs. You've seen good markets. You've seen bad markets. So you really bring a lot to the table. in terms of knowledge and how to navigate different types of
Absolutely.
markets and economies and things
Absolutely.
like that. So
And,
that's
navigate, but it's not just navigating the markets. It's also navigating. Everybody has their own story.
yeah,
Everybody has their own, unique qualities that they bring to the table that I have to try to fit into a box, right? And sometimes they don't fit into the box, so I got to go outside the box. But again, we're always trying to find out how to fit them inside the box. And so again, I've seen over 30 years thousands of different opportunities that, again, all play into it. So one opportunity may say, okay, well, I've seen this before. Let me give a little bit of spin this way, but then you have this coming to the table, so now I got to take it from another scenario that I've seen. So it's just trying to, again, it's like a puzzle.
okay,
When we try to put together a puzzle and try to make sure that all the pieces match.
right. And when you're not doing mortgages and servicing your clients,
Yeah.
you have what do you have back home?
Back home, I mean, am I ever home? I don't think so.
Do your kids ever see you?
Well, no, I do see the kids. It's sporting events and it's community events, and it's just a lot of trying to manage my time. I try to manage my time at work because things pull you in different directions, but I also try to manage my time after work with my kids and all the stuff that they have going on.
Right. And you have two kids,
I have
right?
two kids, 14 and 17, so they're busy.
Yeah.
And they're into a lot of stuff. So
And a beautiful, hardworking wife.
yes,
back home.
Yes, and
Or not at home. She's at work.
she's at work as well, but
Yeah.
she owns her own business, and so I also do try to help her with her business as well, and it's a love for me because again everything I do is I try to make the right decisions for my clients, and then even with my wife's business for her clients, and just trying to make sure that people get what they want.
Yeah,
That's really
awesome.
what it
You're
is.
an entrepreneurial family.
I guess so.
I think that's great.
That's where we're at. What about you, though, Ben? Tell us a little bit about where you have come from. I know you didn't grow up in Michigan. So
That's true.
You obviously came here. You're a transplant, and I don't know why Michigan. I mean, you can explain that, but again, we're here. You came. So tell us, where'd you start? How'd you get your going into the business?
Yeah.
And
Thank you for that lead-in.
Yeah.
So I'm not from Michigan originally. I've lived here almost 18, 19 years now.
Yep.
I'm originally from Chicago. Go Bears.
Chi-town. Oh,
Go Bears.
Yeah, whatever. Don't even start.
Just had a draft last night.
I
we
saw
should
that.
Talk about. Originally grew up in Chicago, born and raised, and I did my undergrad in Indiana, and after Indiana, I moved out to Boston for 3 years, which is where I got started in real estate. I actually started in commercial real estate. I worked for a small boutique commercial real estate firm, working with a lot of retail clients, medical. I remember I did a lease on a day spa. So really sort of it was a good intro. That company turned out to be a little shady.
Okay. Yeah.
So I left there and started working at Century 21, switched from commercial to residential. Just a better fit for me.
Yeah.
I like working with homeowners versus business owners because I don't know. It's just a different kind of relationship.
You connect with them better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a better fit for my personality.
Yep.
So I hit the ground running doing that, and then moved to Michigan in 2008, which was probably not the best time.
Probably not, but
we
we'll
weathered
take you.
through.
Yeah.
We weathered through, and here we are today. I have 3 kids back home, 2 boys and a girl, 12, 14, and 15.
So yeah, you're in the thick of it, just like
I'm
me.
in the thick of it. They're starting to doing some driving,
Yep.
which is kind of
Welcome.
terrifying.
It is terrifying. Every day my daughter drives away, you just pray and hope that everything's okay.
But for me, real estate, it's just about the relationships.
Yep.
Being a realtor, it's not that much different from selling. We're selling houses. It's not that much different from selling other products. It comes down to the relationships.
Yep.
And that's really the key focus. And I think you touched on that
Yep.
when you were talking about it, is coming up with solutions, strategies that put the client first. And I think that's really the goal. And I think that's why we're here doing this podcast.
But I also think, and why we work well together, we understand that real estate is emotional. It's a transaction, and it is it is a business transaction, right? People are buying and selling something, but it is very emotional because this is where people are going to raise their family. This is where a lot of firsts are going to happen or whatever it is. And so emotion does play a lot of it because again, if if somebody's selling a house and the value comes in low, the seller's getting emotional about that. No, my house is worth $1 million. We understand it's not always worth $1 million, right? But that's part of the problem. So that part's emotional. The buyer, when they can already see themselves living in that house and they go on an inspection and the inspection fails or there's something wrong, all of a sudden now their heart's ripped out.
Yeah.
So it is a very emotional transaction and they need people like us on their side helping them through the process, not just for the financial part of it, where you're writing up a purchase agreement, and again, I consider that financial part, right? I'm doing the mortgage. That's a financial part. They need us for that part, but they also need us for the emotional part too. And sometimes I hear agents always talk about that they're a real estate agent, they're a therapist, there's a lot of roles that we do play in this.
You have to wear many hats.
We have to wear many hats.
Absolutely.
And but that's why we like it. That's the difference. And maybe that's also why you like this better than being in commercial because you don't. I mean, I think you do have to wear some hats, but it's not like this.
Yeah, it's a different type of connection. And you're right. It is a business transaction. But it's not business people
correct
making the transaction. It's normal people.
The difference.
And that's you touched on it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's where you need the business experience to help you through that process. We hope all transactions are smooth and that we have to do very little work.
God,
that's great.
I wish.
I love that.
That would be fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yes.
But it doesn't always happen that way.
No.
And you don't know at the beginning of the transaction whether this is going to be a smooth transaction or not a smooth transaction. Nope. And there are a million pitfalls along the way, whether it's inspection issues, appraisal issues. Oftentimes, one of the biggest hurdles I'm dealing with is just dealing with the agent on the other side of the table.
Who may not answer their phone or whatever
exactly.
it is. And that's the thing. It's like we're all trying to get to the same finish line, right? We're all trying to get there because, again, we want a happy seller. We want a happy buyer. We want the transaction to be that way.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's real estate. And we all know real estate, and hopefully you out there now know that real estate isn't just a one-size-fits-all.
Right.
And it's not something that is always going to be vanilla. It's not always going to be something that is always going to go smoothly. There's something that is going to happen on almost every transaction. And who you hire matters. Mm-hmm. And I always say it's not – when somebody asks me about – hey, call me up and they talk to me about doing their mortgage. I always talk about you're hiring me to do a job. Obviously, we're going to become friends. We're going to talk throughout the process. But really, you're hiring me to do the job that you need to be done to make sure that you get to the closing table without many problems.
Right.
And you're hiring me to deal with those problems, right? And I think, unfortunately, there's just not a lot of transactions that don't have those issues.
It's a shame, too. And I will get into stories down the road.
We have plenty of them.
Of dealing with agents on the other side of the table. Oftentimes they're wonderful.
Yep.
Oftentimes they're terrible.
Correct.
Not returning calls, not getting back to you.
Telling you one thing and then doing something different, which just happened to one of my clients that was putting an offer on a house, and the listing agent said one thing, and then it turned out to be another, and they didn't get the house, and and again, they're upset, right? And now, how do we, on my side, between myself and the buyer's agent, how do we help them get over those feelings, move them on so that they're not always going to be discouraged and know that there is another house.
Right.
There's always another house.
I mean, I feel like real estate sometimes is just chaos.
It is. It's controlled to chaos.
It's a controlled chaos.
Yeah.
Right. Like there are rules to the game that for the most part get followed.
Yep.
But it's a controlled chaos.
Yep.
And houses come up every day. People put multiple offers. You don't know what the other offer is going to be. People think that it's like an auction and what the other person's bidding. But in reality, you don't. You don't know what the other person's bidding.
I laugh because, without having to go into stories, but that just happened to one of my clients the other day, and they did not know when they put the offer in that, nobody's going to find out what all these other offers are.
Right. Only the seller and the listing agent
Correct.
and God
And they
know
got
what the other offers
they
are.
got upset because they got upset with their agent because they're like, you didn't put my best foot forward. We're like, no, I told you what you got to put your best foot forward, but I don't know what else is coming in.
Right.
The listing agent's not telling us, hey, you have to be at this price to get the house, right?
Right.
And so they lost out on the property, and the clients thought that their buyer's agent would know.
Right. And things can change, right? One minute they say, oh, if you put in this offer, I think it'll get accepted. Yeah. You write up the offer. All of a sudden, there are 2 more offers for higher.
Which, again, happened to another client of mine.
Yeah,
so
that happens.
Yeah, it happens. And it's not right, and it sucks. But unfortunately, this is just the name of the game. And,
right.
We're all here trying to figure out the game as much as we can. And, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of real estate agents out there that you haven't worked with. So, and then if there are ones that you've worked with, maybe you have a little bit more of a internal way of getting something, potentially accepted because they know how you work. They say maybe to their seller, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know the mortgage person. I know the realtor on there. They do a good job.
I can help.
Maybe we can get this offer accepted over somebody else's. Maybe it's not always the highest,
right.
but because of that reason. But then there's a lot of times where you don't know the listing agent or the buyer's agent.
Oftentimes you don't.
And
there's 10,000 licensed
correct.
realtor in Southeast
and
Michigan.
that hurts.
You're not going to.
And that may hurt because you don't have that ability to maybe have that little inside edge.
Yeah. So one thing I do after every transaction, after a closing, assuming it goes well, I always write a thank you note to the agent on the other side.
Yeah. Most people don't do that.
Most people do. Well, I know because I don't get many thank you notes from other agents. So I know people aren't doing that. A few people are, but most don't. And the reason is first off, I'm thankful. I'm grateful that they were a capable and competent agent on the other side of the table.
And we
because
closed.
That's not a guarantee.
No.
And then, but the other reason is, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, maybe that agent has a listing and I have a buyer that wants to put an offer and there are multiple offers. And maybe they remember me and that note that I wrote, and they go, well, that guy was really easy to work with. Maybe if we go with this offer, I know we're not going to have any issues.
Correct.
So it's sort of planting that seed early on.
Yep. And that's things that I do too. Yeah. As a mortgage person,
yes,
I do the same thing, right? Because again, even if something goes sideways, because we all know, like we were talking about before, that deals go sideways and things happen, even if I always try to make sure that I leave a good taste in everybody's mouth, whether it's even my fault or not. I try to make sure that I leave a good taste in everybody's mouth, so that way, if they do see my pre-approval, they're coming back going, oh yeah, there was an issue. This guy did everything he could to get over it and got us to the closing table, so we know it will get done no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what I try to do. And then again, after closing, I do try to follow up with both agents, making sure that the transaction was acceptable to their liking. And I do also talk about, hey, I'll give you a review. Why don't you give me a review? Hopefully it was a 5-star service on my side. You saw what I did over and beyond what maybe other lenders do, or even what the transaction brought to the table. I went above and beyond for that just to make sure we got to the closing table. So again, it's you said there's over 10,000 agents, right? But yet it's still a small real estate world.
Right.
And
so I think I saw something like 70% of realtors do one deal or less a year.
Correct.
So
that means that the 30%, guess what? We're probably going to see a lot of them.
Yeah.
Maybe not, it may be 3 years down the line, but you're going to see them again.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always try to say I got to leave a good taste in everybody's mouth.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that they know that I care.
Yeah. Well, you've always left a good taste in my mouth. So
I will not go there. We'll try to make sure that part gets edited.
Yeah. So talk a little about this, because a lot of people may not know what's the difference between a mortgage broker and a mortgage lender, because there's a huge difference.
Yes.
So what is the difference?
And I'm not saying one's better than the other.
Yeah.
Okay. But we I'm trying to think of how I can say it. We're different than just a mortgage broker, and we're different than a mortgage lender. We do lend with our own money, but we are what we call a correspondent or a mini correspondent lender. where we still get the loans underwritten by the banks that we send them to, which is technically the broker model, and we get their pricing. However, we at the closing table fund in our own name as first securities mortgage, and then right afterwards we sell the loan to the lender that actually underwrote the loan and did all the pricing and gave us the rate.
So you're kind of a hybrid of both.
We're kind of a hybrid of both.
So
yes.
just real quick, just in a sense, like what is the difference between
difference between a mortgage broker and a lender? Well, again, a broker, we have the ability to go shop for many lenders to see their rates and their programs.
You're pulling rates from different banks.
Correct.
And getting the best rate.
So we try to say that as a mortgage broker, we take the shopping out of the hands of the consumer, and we try to go out there and shop for the best rate. Where, unfortunately, sometimes with lenders, you get just their rate.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that one's better than the other, because there are some great lenders that have great rates too. So
and there are pros and cons.
And there's pros and cons for both.
Yeah.
Correct, 100%. But why I chose the broker end of it and stayed with the broker end of it after I left Wells Fargo a long time ago really is just because I wanted the control. I wanted to be able to say that when I go give my client the best pricing, I was able to go search for it through my vast, array of lenders that I have access to. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's the most important thing, and my clients know that. And I say, will I be the lowest and the cheapest out there? Sometimes not, because sometimes depending on the programs or whatever it is, there may be a lender that is better for certain things. There's also lenders that we don't, as a mortgage technically broker or super broker, we don't have access to. Here in the state of Michigan, there's something called MISTA, which is the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. They have programs, but because we are not a full lender, we don't have access to it. So if a client calls me up and asks me about something like that, I will then refer them, because I don't have it, I will refer them to somebody that I know and I like and trust that is at a lender that can get the job done.
Okay.
So there are certain things, like I said, that are better. Sometimes with jumbo mortgages, if somebody moves $250,000 over to Chase Bank, Chase may have a better rate than we do. Mm-hmm. Again, not everybody has the ability to do that or will do that, because they may have all their money tied up at UBS and they don't want to take their money out and move it over to Chase, so it doesn't matter. So my rate may still be better than Chase's rate based on the fact that they're not moving the money over. Again, sometimes Chase's rate's better than mine anyways. We just don't know. So it's a day in, day out thing that it's a fluid situation that we just have to continue to check the market. And the good thing is I have friends at a lot of different places that I do try to make sure, and I check with them, hey, where are you at? Here's where I'm at. That way we can play off each other, because there's times where I get business from them and they get business from me. So but that, again, the reason why I'm a broker is because I do, for the most part, have the ability to shop around for my clients for the best deals possible.
Which I think seems like the best scenario.
Correct.
Right? Versus shopping one bank versus multiple banks.
And they also do say that our costs are cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Our total costs over the life loan are definitely cheaper. Okay. It's a stat that United Wholesale Mortgage and Matt Ishbia has talked about, that using a mortgage broker is cheaper. So that is, a big thing for our clients, because it's their hard-earned money that they're using to buy a house.
Right. And
we do our best to try to keep as much money in their pocket as we can.
Right. So you're one-stop shop. I mean,
that's what we try to be.
People come to you and you send them in the right direction.
Correct.
And if it's not something that you're an expert in or specialize in,
you're
going to point them to who is. So
that's
good, because you don't want, I remember years ago I had a client refer to me. They asked me if I could sell their laundromat. Yeah, I don't know anything about selling laundromats.
Nope.
If I'm not an expert in it, I'm going to refer it to someone who is.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the right direction to take. So.
And so, for you, I mean, obviously, you're at Max Brook in Birmingham, and there are other national real estate firms that are out there, and but what makes Max Brook? What makes where you're at special? What keeps you there? Because you've been there for a long time.
Yeah, that's a great question. I should have said that in the beginning. I've been with Max Brooks since 2012. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I like Max Brook because, I mean, first of all, they've been wonderful to me.
Yeah.
I love the manager over there. So Max Brook is owned by Real Estate One, which is the largest independently owned real estate company in Michigan.
Yep.
I like working for local brands. Not that, before Max Brook, I was at Century 21.
Yeah.
It was a great franchise. They're all individually owned franchises. And I had a wonderful experience with there. But I just thought for me in this market, it was a great fit. Max Brook specializes in luxury markets. But, I work with clients all over the place, all over Southeast Michigan. Investors, first-time home buyers, empty nesters, I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
And Max Brook really has a great support system there. If any issues do come up, I know that management has my back. And it's just been a really great spot.
Yeah.
My manager has a little bit of a renovation addiction. Every time I walk in the office, it's like it's been renovated. I'm like, did I walk into the right building?
The renovation of renovations of renovations.
Literally every time I go in the office, there's some new renovation. Desks are in a different spot. It's pretty funny. But no, I like Max Brook. A lot of agents come and go. I have no intention of leaving.
Yeah.
I like it here, and it's just been a good situation.
There's nothing wrong with all these other brands, right?
No.
I think every agent.
In fact, I
wants,
think they're more similar than they are different.
Yes, and I think every agent, just like us in the mortgage, every agent runs their business differently,
Right.
And so it's up to every agent to go out there and figure out which brand has the best process. However they're structuring their deal, like they need to choose it
Right. For them. Absolutely.
And so that's why. But again, that's why I love America, right? Because we have the choices. Here we have the opportunity to work. I mean, I don't even know how many mortgage brokers there are in the state of Michigan, but there's also lenders and whatever else. So I have the choice to go figure out wherever I want to go. Same thing with you, right? There's so many different companies, and there's more of them popping up every day. But again, it's just where you feel comfortable and where you feel you can do your business and the style of business that you're doing. That's where you're at, right?
Absolutely.
So again, we're not saying that any other place is better or worse. We're just saying this is where you're comfortable.
Right.
This
And
is
we have
where you're at now.
friends at brokerages
Correct.
all over the city.
Correct.
So,
and I work with agents at all
Yeah.
different. So I think it's just up to the individual agent.
right. I would even say, brokerages aren't even that important, right? You're hiring the agent.
That was good. You stole my
Not the
thunder.
brokerage, yeah.
That's usually what I tell my clients. People want to know you.
Right.
Do you know? They don't really care. Does Max Brook or Keller Williams or any Century 21? Do they know the area? No, they want to know. Do you know the area? Yes, I know the area. I've done enough business in this area. I either live here, I've sold so many homes here, or whatever else. They want to know, do you know my area, and are you going to be able to find me a home or sell my home because of that reason?
Right.
So I don't necessarily consider it the company for that, but I definitely feel that companies bring different, amenities and different types of, relationships and whatever else to the table. And that's where the agents are going to feel more comfortable, depending on however they want to run their business.
Right. Like your brand it will help give you relevancy and it'll help get you in the door.
Yep.
But it's not going to get the listing agreement signed.
Correct.
It's not going to get the buyer's agreement signed.
Correct.
I mean, that's on you and your skills as a salesman and, to do that. No broker is going to help you do that.
No.
I mean, they'll give you some training and things like that,
Correct.
but it falls on us, and being good salespeople.
Yep. And so when I look at our market in Michigan and also even in Southeast Michigan, there's just a lot of good people out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good people in the mortgage industry. There's a lot of good people in the real estate industry. And really for for the people listening to the podcast or our clients that are out there, they just need to find somebody that they can connect with, that they know, and they can say, this person's going to get me what I need
Right.
and what I want. And that ultimately is the key thing, right?
Yeah. And have confidence that you have their interest
Correct.
at heart, not your own.
Correct. And that's where no company, like my company, First Curious, is not going to do that for them. Where I was before was like they're not going to do it. It's me.
Yeah.
And that's why they're hiring me.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with you. And so, we always say, we really do. It is you're spending a lot of money. This is going to be the biggest investment that you're going to make for most people. And this is something that you're going to, I always tell my clients, like, this is something that you are going to go home. When you buy a house, you're going to have to go home to this house every single day and feel like, I love this place. Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure you find the right agent that is going to be out there getting you that house.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be miserable in a house that they just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on.
Right.
Because in the end, you're going to end up losing. So that's
not a good feeling.
It's not a good feeling. So that's why you got to make sure you hire somebody that you can trust. And yes, you should do your due diligence on them. I'm pretty sure people Google me. I tell people to Google their agent, find out where their reviews are, see if they understand, because you really do need to know where they've come from. What have they done? Read some of the things, because, again, you'll see a pattern in a lot of Google reviews or wherever, Zillow reviews or wherever they're at. You'll see a pattern. And is that pattern something that you want? Is it the communication? Is it, do they negotiated good for me? Whatever it is, you got to find out, is that the person for me?
Right. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about ourselves. Mm-hmm. So now more about this podcast, Inside the Offer. We've sort of talked a little about what the format is going to be.
Yep.
And what listeners can expect when they tune in. The goal is to make this a weekly podcast.
Yep.
And one of probably the first thing we'll talk about is what's changed in the last week, things that are relevant to home buyers or consumers or homeowners, first time, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be different every time. I have a few things to talk about today. And then we want to talk about some real life stories.
Oh yeah, we got them.
It's not just an informational podcast.
No.
It's storytelling. Correct. Podcast.
And,
we have between us like 50 years in the business. So we have some stories.
We have stories.
We got some stories.
And we got some. I mean, again, you'll see as this podcast goes on, and when we start talking about, we're going to get into it. Like it's going to be emotional, and there's going to be a lot of things that happen because I'm along for the ride, just like you are, with our clients.
Yeah.
And we wear our emotions on our sleeve, but we also wear our clients' emotions.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about these stories, and I know we've talked about the stories, all the time, we'll call each other up on the phone and whatever, and talk about it. But we can see we get angry about something that happened, or whatever it is, or we feel bad about something, or we're really happy for our clients for this.
This business is an emotional roller coaster.
Correct. And so even though we'll be telling the stories this way, we're still probably going to feel that.
Yeah.
And it does,
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you get emotional.
I mean,
I'll bring a
doesn't happen very often, but
next time.
doesn't happen.
So we're going to talk about our real life stories, and how that's relevant to people. Or maybe they're just funny.
Yeah. There are some.
And then every week we want to talk about our weekly keys to the deal.
Yep.
And so talk a little bit about the keys to the deal, how that is going to benefit our listeners, and what that brings to the table.
Yeah. So, the keys to the deal are going to be, on, let's say, the mortgage side, there's going to be different, offers or different programs or anything that's come up that's going to help a client possibly get into a home easier, right? We want to make sure that, our listeners are set up for success, and that they are armed with information that they can go back to their real estate agent or their mortgage person and say, hey, I heard this. Can we try this? Yeah. Is this going to help me? Can I get, will this get me into a house faster, easier, or whatever it is? And so there's going to be stuff that I'm going to bring up as keys to the deal for the mortgage end of it. And then I'm assuming you're going to bring up some keys to the deal of like, how are you going to, or what you've done to help other people sell their house. What maybe, again, if it's, offering free home warranty or whatever, like maybe there's certain things that you can talk about that say, hey, if you're going to list a house and you want to sell it for top dollar, here's the things that you may need to do, right? Yeah. Or if a house has been sitting on the market for a long time, what are some of the keys to the deal that they can do to maybe reinvigorate that listing to make it so somebody else is going to look at it and say, "Oh, I want it now."
Yeah, I that's sort of how I interpret the keys of the deal as being a little nugget of information, little something that never heard before.
Correct.
That they can apply to their home, their sale, their whatever, and improve it by some measure.
Correct.
So,
and unfortunately, there's mortgage people that either don't know or don't tell their clients for some odd reason. Same thing with real estate agents. They either don't know about it, never had it happen in a transaction or whatever. And so we're going to be bringing that information to the table because we've seen it.
Yeah.
And we're also, I'll be honest, I'll be talking to other people in our industry and saying, hey, is there something we should be talking about? Right? Maybe there's some other keys to the deal that we can bring to the table that maybe we don't know about either. So we're going to try to, just make sure that we arm our consumers with as much information as possible.
Exactly. And then the goal also down the road is we plan on having guests on.
Yeah.
Whether it be title people, inspection,
Yep.
home inspectors, or whatever.
Yeah.
People in the community, business owners, developers, whatever.
Correct. I thought developers, builders, remodelers, people that are going to give a little bit of an insight of what they're doing and what they're seeing in the marketplace. And, something we talk about as well. You don't always want to be the most improved house on the block, right? So, what renovations, and let's talk to a renovation expert that says, here's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. Mm-hmm. Here's what you should be doing to sell your house.
Yeah.
Right? Because unfortunately, sometimes you're just not going to get what you put into the house. You may not get it back when you go to sell the house.
You're talking about like the people that want to sell their house and they do renovations to prep the house for sale, right?
Correct.
And there's certain things that you may not get the money back. And,
correct.
Yeah.
And so we want to bring in a renovation expert, somebody that does it, that can say, based on what the real estate agent's talking about and what they're seeing, how do we navigate our clients through this process and say, here's where you're really going to get, this is where you should put your money, this is what you should be doing.
Okay.
And making sure that they're again, not overspending for something that they're going to be selling, and we want them to maximize their dollars.
Right. I wonder if we know anyone that flips houses.
I don't know. That's why I'm
Maybe.
bringing it up.
Maybe.
Yes. But you're also not doing all the renovations yourself,
No.
so we want to bring in somebody like that is doing the
Yeah.
renovations with you, because you have to be a team. You have to understand, and agents should have somebody that does renovations on their team to make sure that they're on the same page, right? That they're not talking about, and they're not talking different languages where the agent says, okay, you need to do this to this to this to your house, but then you bring somebody out to do the renovations, and they're trying to upsell you to do other things, and it's just not right. So that's why we want to make sure that they're on the right path.
Okay. So I'm excited. I think we have a cool format.
I think so too.
I think we're going to bring a lot of relevant information to our listeners, to our viewers, and hopefully be a little bit entertaining.
I hope so. I hope so. My wife says I'm not funny. My kids say I'm not funny. So maybe here I can be funny.
Yeah. You let loose. Your kids aren't here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
My wife thinks I'm hilarious. She thinks I'm the funniest person on the face of the earth.
I know your wife. No, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't.
No, she
think
doesn't.
that at all. My humor is heavy on the dad jokes.
Yes.
So
I've heard a lot of them.
It doesn't appeal to all listeners, but you can't please everyone.
Nope, you cannot.
That's the thing. All good comics. You can't please everyone.
And if they don't like it, turn it off and come back and try again.
Right. Exactly. So, okay.
Now, you said you found some information, because I just want you to quickly go into some information so that way they can at least get a little bit of information that we found over the last
so it's not
week.
just a whole podcast of us talking about ourselves.
Correct.
I want to dive into our weekly update.
Yep.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, I have the March 2026 housing report in front of me. I'm not going to go into all the details and crazy graphics and stuff like that, but there was a really interesting line in this housing report that stuck out to me.
It stuck out to me too when you showed it to me.
Yeah, and I even got my highlighter. I highlighted it, so it's important.
It definitely stuck out then.
It's important if I highlighted it. So, and this is interesting. It's almost like a riddle. Okay, so in today's market, in the March 2026 housing report, inventory has grown.
Yep.
But listings are down.
Which is crazy. I mean,
which is
that
weird,
doesn't
right?
sound like on the surface, if you hear that, you're like, huh, that's a head scratcher. I don't understand why.
It's bizarre because you would think if inventory is up, then you would have more listings.
Correct.
Inventory is up 27% compared to last year. Last year at this time we had 5,300 homes.
Yeah.
In this is Oakland County.
Yeah.
I should specify it's Oakland County.
Yep.
We had 5,300 homes. Now we have 6,500 homes on the market. Okay, so
what's
and
the
at
reason?
the same time, the new listings are down 8% versus this time last year. So what's changed? The difference is the inventory is growing. So when inventory shrinks when houses leave the market.
Yep.
So when houses sell or they just pull it from the market, then it leaves the market. And then typically inventory grows when listings enter the market. So what's been happening is properties are just sitting on the market longer. They're expiring. Let me start over. Okay. I had this all right. Okay, so over the past year, listings have remained on the market longer. 20% fewer listings have been withdrawn or expired. So basically what that's saying is houses are sitting on the market longer.
Correct. Which
That's
also,
why we have the growing inventory with
correct.
less.
So
with less new
inventory is
listings.
still there because if they're not coming off, it's still on the MLS. It's still there, right? They're still listed. So that's why listings are down. I mean, listings can be down. Newer listings can be down, but the inventory can be up because things are just sitting there.
Right.
So in future podcasts that we're going to talk about why are listings sitting? Why are things staying longer on the market? And then why are there sometimes a house goes up on the market and literally within 3 hours they have 17 offers.
Yeah.
And it's going for way over asking price, right? So there's so many, there's variables to that. And so unfortunately, there is still a statistic that says inventory is up. So which means that there's maybe these houses that are out there that are just not, in the condition that buyers want or whatever it is. But if you have a good house and it is in the right condition or in the right place or whatever it is, they're flying off the shelf.
They are.
And so, these are definitely things that I think our listeners are going to want to hear. Maybe they'll get some information so when they do go buy, they understand what they're going up against. And when they go to sell, what they need to do to make sure that maybe they do have this house that is going to get multiple offers, that is going to go for over ask.
Yeah.
Because it is happening. But then again, we do hear sometimes that clients have houses that are sitting on the market longer.
I think it's happening for a variety of reasons. I think the market has really sort of plateaued.
Yeah.
I think over last year, we're only up 1.3%
Yeah.
in terms of housing prices. So there hasn't been the year-over-the-year appreciation that a lot of sellers are used to. But sellers are still pricing their homes as if
Correct.
the market
It
is
is
going
up.
gangbusters.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad market. It's one that's sort of a little flat,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot of buyer demand. And like you said, if a home is priced right in a good location, it's going to sell.
Yep.
I think you just have a lot of inventory that's probably overpriced and probably needs a lot of work.
Yep.
And people are sitting on low interest rates, so there's not the huge motivation to just get this thing off the books, like maybe people may be dealing with a higher interest rate. So a variety of reasons why that might be happening. I think it's sort of on a case-by-case basis. But higher inventory is I think is a good thing for buyers.
It is. It gives them the opportunity to possibly have more to choose from.
Right.
But again, if you're going and you're looking for these houses that are coming right on the market and are these houses that are totally redone and ready to go, you got to buckle up.
Yeah, I mean the Midwest is still one of the hottest markets.
Yes,
in America right now.
It is.
So.
It's crazy. And I got stories for next time, but just again what my clients are going through in this process and what I'm doing to try to help. But it just is it's hard. But then also I have some clients of mine that their approval or what they're doing may lend itself to find these other houses that have been sitting longer. Mm-hmm. So the people that have these houses that are sitting longer, they still can sell their house. They just may have to find the right buyers for that. And so there's certain things that we'll talk about of, what kind of approval or what you're doing and what your offer looks like, that you may need to go and find some of these other properties.
Right.
Because it just may be a better fit for you and your situation at the time.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can make it work.
Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting statistic.
Really? Yeah.
Higher inventory, but fewer new listings.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It just
you don't usually
Nope.
see that. So it's weird. It's interesting. So do you have any keys to the deal for this week?
My key to the deal is, at this point, from what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
There's no deals out there. I understand maybe if a house has been sitting for a long time, potentially you can find a seller that may be willing to come down, but really put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
Your agent will tell you the same thing. They can't tell you what to write, but they're going to tell you to put your best foot forward and just do it.
Because the escalation clause, it seems like is gone.
Correct.
Because that used to be a pretty good strategy.
It was.
We'll pay up to this amount, with over any competing offers.
Correct. And it seems like there were a lot of agents that didn't like that.
Yeah.
They think, again, put your best foot forward. Why do we need to do an escalation clause, right? Yeah. Just put your best foot forward. So that's where I say, and I was, again, on a transaction, and the real estate agent says, the listing agent says no escalation clauses, right? Mm-hmm. Because they just didn't want it. They wanted the best foot forward. And so that's where I see, a lot of my pre-approved buyers out there looking to make offers. Some of them are not putting their best foot forward. They're still kind of wanting to test the market, but then they're also getting upset they're not getting any of their offers accepted.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you want to buy a house right now, you got to put your best foot forward. And it may be going over asking. It may have an appraisal gap, right, where you have to make up the difference. It may be doing a pass-fail inspection. There may be, and you may have to do all of them. You may have to do only a few of them. Mm-hmm. But again, work with your agent, work with your lender, make sure that you are talking about all these different strategies, but put your best foot forward.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a solid first podcast.
Yeah, I think we did a
What
great
do you think?
job.
We talked about ourselves.
Yes, we did.
Quite a bit.
And I did not bore anybody.
That's okay.
Hopefully, I don't know, but because there's nobody here.
Well, we have to introduce ourselves.
We do.
And,
Yes.
But we're going to get, all our podcasts in the future are going to be we're going to dive deep into some of the issues we talked about. We'll dive into, why does one listing sell? Why does one doesn't?
Yep.
I'd love to have you talk about the different type of mortgage products that are out there, and just all the misinformation. Like, no, you don't need 20% down
It
to buy a
still
house.
floors me that
You
people
don't.
still think that there's. But again, I guarantee you, if I asked my dad how much do you have to put down, he'd probably say 20%.
Right.
Because that's just what it was told to you and what it was back in the day, and things have changed.
Right. So that's kind of the goal of this podcast, is to really just set the record straight and give
Not to
people,
call out my dad, but sorry, Dad.
Oh, I love your dad.
Yeah.
I love your dad. But just give people the right information so they know moving forward. Maybe someone will be like, oh, wait, I don't need to put 20% down?
Yeah.
Maybe I do want to buy a house today.
Correct.
And
why is buying a house better than renting? There's so many things that we're going to go into that I think people will have their eyes wide open after this, and hopefully we'll spawn some people to start looking at buying houses, maybe investing, maybe buying their first investment property, because there's so many programs that we have out there that can help them do that.
That's awesome.
And I always say, use other people's money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't just use your money. So if you don't have the money to buy an investment property outright, we got programs for you. So
OPM,
yeah,
other people's money.
Yep, not the OPP.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
awesome.
But yeah, I think this is a great first podcast. I think people will hopefully listen to it and at least pull out some pieces of information that will want them to come back for more and see that we are really going to come, we're going to come strong. We're going to come hard with different topics and things that are very, very relevant in this space.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I'm excited.
Me too.
I appreciate everyone listening in to episode 1.
Episode 1.
Of Inside the Offer.
Episode 1 of many.
Ben and Jeremy. And
Yes.
we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you on the flip side.